This is Yarnchix Podcast, episode 50. Woo! Celebration! I actually received a present from Anya, a dear friend and regular viewer of this podcast, so I will unbox that at the very end. I've made so many podcasts and it's a really slow growing community which I feel is safe and rooted, and I hope you have already subscribed. If you're part of this group, it would be lovely of you to subscribe and give me those thumbs up, because it helps my podcast grow and it supports my work and makes me smile when I see it happen. I sitting down here in my flat in Berlin, Wedding. My name is Mimi and I call myself Liebwed on Instagram, and I used to be under that name at Ravelry. You can see where I stopped uploading projects to Ravelry, which is exactly when they started to be ableist as beep. And I kind of disagree with that kind of treatment of members of the community who are now struggling to get that kind of equality, and who Ravelry seriously hasn't even acknowledged in harming. So I don't find that's a good way of being with humans. So aside from that, I podcast from Berlin Wedding. That is why I have this name Liebeswedding or Liebwed, which is abbreviated from the two German words Liebes, which is love or dear, and Wedding as in being my district of Berlin, fully creative and hodgepodge and multicultural, which I feel very much at home in. We are a family of 5, so I have 3 children, and yeah. I podcast about knitting, crafting, mending, writing, and I kind of occasionally include a little knit reportage at the end, and I always have a tarot knit oracle. So there is questions that either come from a community member, so you can always ask in the comments or in a direct message, or it's a question that I thought about for myself, for my own crafting, or my own kind of life and community efforts. I welcome you here if you've never been to the Yarnchix Podcast. I hope you like it. And I welcome you here if you're a returning friend, and I hope you might have taken part in some of my knit-alongs or craft-alongs or the current swap situation. So sit back, relax. I hope you have a nice drink and some crafting so we can get going. Start with a little bit of Stashvent Admin, just to let everyone know who signed up for our annual countdown calendar swap, that the registration closed last week, and I am processing all your answers of the questionnaires. There's only 2 missing as of today, where I'm going to send out informations to everyone so that everybody knows who they're sending their swap went calendar to. Swap went Stashvent. We're basically diving into our stash and sharing these countdown calendars made from our stash, like creating like 10-gram mini skeins, or these kind of little parcels, or tiny little balls of yarn. Why didn't I bring any to show you? Just share yarn about 10 grams a day, and for a certain amount of days you will be notified if your swappy wants a Hanukkah calendar, a New Year's Eve calendar, a Christmas calendar. And if we have someone who wants a Chinese New Year, I know that's only in February, but we're happy to kind of make that and send it, because why not? It's like a swap. We're trying to send things out early in November so that everybody has it by the 1st of December. There is Hanukkah and New Year's Eve calendar, so we'll make sure that Hanukkah needs the calendar sent much earlier, because their Hanukkah celebrations start on the 28th of November this year, so earlier. And for that calendar, I always suggested to make like 30-gram skeins, or maybe add like a 50-gram ball of yarn, because it's a fewer amount of days. So around 100 to 200 grams. It's all stashed, so it's all beautiful. And, why not crack open into these kind of beautiful yarns for someone to enjoy. A special countdown calendar crafted from a friend for a friend. I'm very excited about that. Because we've had the magic 3-mile run until the 1st of October. Woohoo! I counted contributions, 34 finished sets of 3 items. In Magic 3 Mile, we are crafting for little people in our life, and we make a top, bottoms, and a toy. And then there's kind of these sets that, pardon me, we pop on the table or on the floor, and we make these flat lay photographs. And there were actually quite a few people that entered with several sets. I'm super impressed by your effort and your contributions and just this kind of dedication. There's a few of us who didn't finish sets, including me. I've been crafting a bit chaotically, so I've started on this set, I started on that, and I did all of this kind of a bit hodgepodgey. So I have actually still got some whips and some sets to finish, because I have kind of finished items from separate sets, and not really completed whole sets. I don't mind, to be honest. At first I was like, oh god, I'm such a bad make-along host. I'm like, dabbling here, dabbling there, but I kind of find it's okay. This is me right now. I craft with all these ideas, and I go, I kind of put my crafting tentacles in all sorts of directions, and yeah, okay, that might mean I do not get things finished as planned. I will continue to share my flat lays as I finish them, because why not? So if you're one of the crafters who feels or crafts just like me, kind of periodically pushing through projects and then kind of going on a little tangent side project adventure, then feel free to also join me in carrying on posting with the Magic 3 Mile hashtag as, we carry on. I thought this year if I find finished sets, they could maybe just be counted for 2022. Why not? I mean, mine don't really count anyway because I don't compete in the effort to win the magic big box of prizes. This year, I mean, it's ridiculous. We've got so many beautiful things that one of the crafters who finished will win. So you can go back to the last podcast and I think the previous one where I shared some of the prices. New things have arrived and I will talk about that after I've drawn the price to get that person extra excited maybe about the new items that are joining this big box. I wanted to kind of complete this admin place to also say each of the categories, so tops or bottoms or toy, also receive presents. And this year I had the idea that you will receive something that I have crafted, because as soon as I finished some of my sets, I realized the children I started crafting these sets for have, long outgrown the items. And for example, I don't really have a newborn friend at the moment, nor a kind of mid-sized toddler child. So like there is a toddler that I'm crafting for, and there's like school children, but the kind of 4, 5, 6-year-old bracket that I actually have quite a few items finished for, doesn't have someone. I don't have someone like that in my kind of family friend circle, like that I would be crafting for. So some of my crafts will be sent out with like little bits of notions, or I'll just add something for those 3 categories. And I've had a really special crafter from the UK and dyer, plant dyer, contribute a price. And if one of the category winners happens to be in the UK, they will receive this UK parcel, because Europe and UK mailing has been, I want to say fraudulent, because this whole situation is like a big fraud. It's fraud on the people of, Earth. But so her parcel actually didn't arrive with me, and there was kind of communications issues because the post office actually never notified me that it had arrived, and this is due to some of those notifications now running through tolling departments of the post office, as we have to pay tax on anything arriving from the UK, which we've been doing for the US deliveries for years now. So you'd think they have some kind of system already existing, so why not, kind of latch on to that with all the UK business. But hey ho, it ain't that easy. By the looks of it, infrastructure doesn't adapt. We humans have to adapt, but our systems of mailing, or any of the systems that are existing in our capitalist, patriarchal and racist system will, they're not giving, they're not moving, they're not budging. So and all this to say, if there is a category winner in the UK, or if maybe the main prize is actually someone from the UK, there will be a parcel coming to you from Woolen Flower, who is a natural dyer of yarn and sewist of beautiful bags, and just all around beautiful human being in Glasgow, based in Glasgow. That's where they live. So I think it would be really lovely to kind of make it happen, although it was meant to happen and then it kind of failed, and Jules and me were both like, what's going on? So the main prize will be a random number draw from all the finished sets. So I have made a list. I went through all of our hashtags to make sure I definitely caught everyone's finished sets, because I know there's always a bit of confusion which hashtag should be used. I'm going to just add the one that's the most helpful or had the most finished objects in here. So now maybe you'll recognize it. It's all words. It's all words, all letters, all no digits. And we will, maybe just carry on using that hashtag when we finish sets in this upcoming period. Oh yeah, and the category winners will be more kind of depending on, I think I'll just choose 3 different crafted items from the different categories that I feel made me feel very strongly. So I hope this is kind of in some way fair. Just give me that bit of power. Sorry. I've had people help me choose in the past, but I find it difficult to organize that, and I know that those kind of things push it along, and then it takes longer. So I think I'm just going to try and do it this week, and I'll keep posting about it, and I'll share it, and you'll know as soon as it happens. You'll be notified. I'll send you a message. And yeah, so without any further ado, I'm going to draw the winner using random numbers, and then we'll carry on with the podcast. So I'll be using my trusty phone to use random.org, which is a random number generator I generally use. So I have to type in true random number generator. Minimum is number 1. And maximum, as I said, is number 34 of contributions. That's a lot of finished sets. If you imagine that's 34 times 3, so, a bit more than 100 items made. Woo! You guys, the best! So, I'm gonna do this. Press generate. Did I press generate? Result. Number 18. Let's check on the list. Number 18 is me and Simone. Julia! Congratulations! I'll show you on my list. Number 18. Me and Simone! I can't believe it! I get to send something to Holland to my dear friend Julia. And it kind of is very fitting because she is also the reason why I finished a really cool mini parachute last year. And I have actually got a mini parachute on my needles as we speak. And she came up with this kind of way, it's like a hack of the Stephen West pattern. And Stephen West is one of her friends. So I think she also got the permission in to share the hack in her kind of stories saved places. So I've been following her kind suggestions of how to kind of make smaller parachutes, and I super love everything she crafts, and I think she is a gorgeous person. I will include a picture now of her finished set, which is a mini set with a mini, the toy is basically actually mini clothes for a mini toy of her child. So yeah, congratulations. This means the next couple of days after I've promoted this podcast, she will have inbox from me, and as I know her address, I can just send her the parcel. She doesn't have to get in touch with me or anything, but if you also watch this space on Instagram, Yarnchix Podcast, this is the space. I will share some of the flat lays with the kind of category winners, and then we'll have to be in touch about things. Until next year, my dear crafting friends, it's always a bit Boo-hoo-hoo, it's finished. I absolutely love the Magic 3 Mile. It's been a bit of a kind of, light at the end of the tunnel every year since it started. So please feel free and feel invited to join in 2022. We'll start in May and we end in October, and it's kind of crafting throughout summer. I know we always end up having lots of plans, and then we might or we might not complete what we've planned. I'm gonna get my plan out to show you what I finished right away. I'm gonna have to cut this out. I'm gonna show you a couple more things that will be in the prize. There is actually a kind of natural plant dye garden seed packet from Still Garments going into the big box of prizes. And that was one of the donations that I've had from Still Garments. Is Elke. She's a local to me friend and plant dyer. She gives like plant walks here in Berlin. They're really nice. You only pay, I think, something like 22 euros, and you can go on a Sunday walk with her and find out about all these kind of plant matters that you can dye with. And it's in a really cool place in a cool area of our city, and I love that area. I actually go for walks there myself, and she teaches sort of eco printing and natural dyes. I joined one of her dye workshops in the past, and I would highly recommend it. I love her kind of, look at that little drawing she put on the back, and it's just kind of different seed packets, so you can grow your own little dye garden, which I think is cool. I went through my notions and I found this pin that I'm adding, and I also am adding this because it was a bit of a funky one, but I kind of like it. It's basically a Venus with freckles from the sea buckthorn, which is a bit of a grainy plant if you have that in the oil, and some of the seeds kind of came out, and so it smells lovely. It smells of, oh my god, my makeshift camera tripod thing just kind of slid sideways and I almost saw the camera drop. I have to take a picture of the setup because I'm so stupid. I left the tripod at the Bauwagen when I last went because I thought this weekend I would be going out there and that I could film this there. But we've had a bit of a COVID scare and we're basically quarantining, and so I stayed here. I didn't join a party that I was meant to join, and we're all good. Like, we're testing negative all the time, but it's a fucking beast, this virus, and children don't get the protection they should. I just find that. Anyway, side note, I don't have my tripod because of COVID-19. And so I made this kind of makeshift thing happen. And I was just showing this kind of Venus hand bomb that I crafted, which is part of the big prize for Magic 3 Mile. And yeah, I'm happy that now it's all over, or it's kind of the last bits and bobs of that craft along that you will be able to see what I've crafted. And I'm gonna stop here, give you a little bit of a break because I just went at the camera, I'm sorry. And then we'll carry on with the podcast as usual with a lot of finished objects and the swatch story and the sock alarm and a tarot knit oracle and all the Yarnchix Podcast usual stuff. can I admit something here officially and record? I basically am a bit of a squirrel when it comes to crafting items, drawings, art, and I've recently kind of buckled up and sorted out a lot of my stuff. But in my kind of squirrel mind, I always know that is the place I've kept that drawing, and that is that place I kept that wool. But I've kind of done a major shift, and I've gone through my stash also for one of my zines where I'm doing a lot about home and mapping. And anyway, this is kind of the current zine project I'm really slowly evolving through. And some of that evolution was to kind of change things and be a bit more organized. The problem is my squirrel mind is kind of anxious. It's kind of like things aren't in the same places as they used to when I didn't have a system, or when the system was that I kind of visually remembered that was the spot for that item, and it was just really a random spot and it didn't make sense to anyone else in the household, or it got on people's nerves, which is fair enough because, you know, I'm everywhere with my squirrel stuff. Yeah, but now I've just had a moment where I was looking for the drawing I made for this year's Magic 3 Mile, because I wanted to use that drawing as a kind of like a map to tell you what I finished, what I didn't finish, and I can't find it, and it kind of made me go a bit hot, flustered, stressy, anxious inside, and to be honest, that's really not what I want my podcast to become for me, that I'm kind of like stopping the filming, running around trying to look for stuff. It happens, and often happened in the past, but right now I'm telling myself, have a sip of kombucha, just show your old drawing, because most of the projects are on that old drawing from 2019 or 2020, and just chill, Mimi. Like, it doesn't matter. You guys don't mind. It's just I'm the one who minds and stresses. Yes, I'm anxious. It's due to lots of like self-testing, anxiety, worries, too much work, too little time, having to tell work that you know, it's just breathe and relax. This is the drawing I did find because it's on my mood board and I love it. It's all the kind of rainbow colors, and I did some like watercoloring in of the different items that I planned to make. This was 2020, and still I'm kind of completing things on here. The kind of blue little bookmark stickers show that I have actually finished it. So I finished the Taxi Booties by Degen, finished the Popcorn Vest by Misha and Puff Studio. I finished this little pink hat, which is the Pinecone hat, and finished the little parachute. I've got a new parachute which is still on the needles, and I squirreled it away. This is actually one item that all morning I've been looking for because I wanted to show you. I finished the front, I'm kind of halfway through the back. Things will happen, I'll show it next time, because to be honest, I've got enough to show you. And then there's this sweater, which is a flax sweater that I started, and when I finished it, it was way too small for my child. Plus, I had a bit of a dye lot issue with it. You can go back to past podcasts because I've yada about it plenty of times. Anyway, this is what I want to talk about because I finished a flax hack. I basically highly what do you call it? Adapted this pattern to what I wanted to make, and it's in this luminous orange, which will, like, the camera will go like blow out like crazy, and it's a t-shirt version. So I omitted the garter stitch panel that is very significant actually for the flax sweater pattern by Tinker Knits, but I just wanted pure stockinette because this is a self-striping 100% vegan yarn called Trefili by Lana Grossa, and we sell it in one of the yarn shops I work in, or we used to sell it. Once it went in the sale, I basically grabbed all the last of this neon red, and I made this t-shirt for my 10-year-old child, and I love it. I kind of this is like a double reason why it's t-shirt sleeve. I finished this on the 1st of October. I swear, like, on my knitter's crafters heart, honest to God, honest to knit goddesses, I finished this t-shirt on the 1st of October, and I decided I'll, have short sleeves so that I would make that deadline, and I did make that deadline. But also, this is a summer yarn. It's cotton, linen, and kind of a mix of different viscose blend. It's structured. It's fluffy in parts, as you can maybe tell. And self-striping, which, in the part at the back, what I've done, the short rows, you kind of see is this kind of oblong shape. But I kind of don't mind that. I love how this is so floaty and drapey, and the fabric makes more sense as a t-shirt because it's a summer yarn, and it does kind of make sense with the set I've created this for. However, another one of my squirrel issues is with kind of like a woodwork tool part that I've bought last year or even the year before for finishing this wood crafting project I'm doing for this set, and I can't find this thing, and I don't really want to repurchase it because that would be silly somewhere in my mess. And as I'm working through it, as I spoke about at the beginning of this section, is I will find it and then I will finish it and I'll keep you posted. So this is number 1 of that set, and if I find the drawings, I'll include more of the set's plan. Oh, and for the mending part of this week's of the 50th episode of Yarnchix, I'm actually gonna do something here on camera, which I think it's a bit silly that we don't call this mending, but it kind of is, which is I basically fudged the pickup of the stitches near the armpits. Basically on both sides of the armpit stitches I've got massive holes. This side might not be as bad as this one. Look at the size of that hole. It's fudged. Look. So I'm going to use the cast on thread, plus I've kind of got a little bit extra to seal up those holes, and that will be, I will film that and show it as part of the kind of mending section of my podcast, because I thought that is mending. You're kind of fixing up a kind of small knitting mistake. It's obviously like, just after darning all the ends of this, so it's not kind of happening later on in the life of this garment, but I think it's a true issue. At least it happens to me often, and I have spoken to my knit friends in the knit meetup often about this as well, so why not share that as part of the mending, hey? So I'm gonna include that in a bit. Another thing that I've finished is a toy. It's this penguin, and I think I showed them in the last episode because they were part of a set. But to make this penguin a full set, actually 2 of my most recent swatches, or actually 3 of my recent swatches, will go with this set, and I will talk about that in episode 51 when I will have sent off this item to their recipient, and so that is all a bit of a secret what goes with this one. But I'm super happy that I made this penguin, and I'm gonna surely carry on knitting penguins. The penguin pattern is by Anna Maltz from her book Penguin and Knit Collection. And yeah, I got to interview and write about the penguin pattern in zine number 7, I think, or was it zine number 6? Anyway, this pattern has been like a mascot for our make along, and it truly is a fun project. And then I've got actually a work in progress, which is still Magic 3 Mile. It's currently this loop. I'm knitting using this is Genmu by Daluma. It's a Japanese yarn brand, and it's this really fluffy merino, which is kind of softly held by a really tiny thread of merino. So it's almost like a unspun yarn, or really only slightly two plied with this really thin thread. So it's super fluffy and soft, and we have it at the other yarn store where I work at as part of a sweater set that you can kind of pre-order. So it's kind of like a parceled up sweater set by Midori Hirose, who made the twinkle sweater from this yarn. So we also sell it loosely because obviously we ordered in all this yarn from Japan, and so you can buy them skein by skein as well. And my youngest chose this really dark color because I'm actually working on our Halloween costumes. We're both gonna be pumpkins this year, and we both have like our minds going busy buzzy, and we have all these ideas for our costumes. So I hope to include that in the next podcast, which I know will be in November, so it'll be after Halloween, but you know, I haven't finished the costumes yet, so I might as well include that in the next one. And this is the pointy hat. It's a free pattern from the Pearl Sew website, and I saw Senya HM, so she's Senya Handmade, had made this really witchy pointy hat, and I showed it to my child, and they were like, yes, I want this, it's cool, I want that one as part of my pumpkin costume, because she basically wants a hat that is very pointy at the top, so it looks a bit like, you know, the stalk of the pumpkin. So I'm doing that, and I've made her a little neckerchief, which it's in use, so I didn't bring it to show you, but I will show you all of our costume make in the next episode, swear, I promise. But yeah, so this is still a Magic 3 Mile because there's going to be 3 items of that for her. And then a mend, because since I think a couple of years now we also mend for Magic 3 Mile. And the last project that I wanted to show you, so I've got a finished object, which is a t-shirt, then I've got a kind of new cast on, which is a pointy hat for a costume, and I've got this mending project, and then I'll shut up about Magic 3 Mile and we'll move on. This was actually one of the Magic 3 Mile finishes from 2019, and it was the year my child started first grade, and so I had crocheted this pineapple bag as the topper of her sugar cone. In Germany, the kids on their first day of school received this massive cardboard paper cone, which they would have maybe crafted with their parent or at their kindergarten, or their parents craft it for their children. And it's basically called a sugar cone because it's filled to the brim with sweets. And it's it's actually like sugarcoating the whole thing of going to school and the reality of getting up much earlier and a busy scheduled week, I think. But, you know, it's important. It's important as part of their kind of looking forward to that day. And I'd made this as the topper, so it was basically at the very top of her very pink, very crafted, multicolored sugar cone, and this kind of pineapple top was popping out the top, and I loved it. It looked super cute. She uses it as her sports bag because they have these kind of little, their shorts, their t-shirt, and their sports shoes, and it used to always fit in. I think still her stuff fits in, which is absolutely crazy. but it was kind of worn out, and the sun has really damaged the outside. So I kind of turned it inside out as a mend, and I had to extend her, you know, because she carries it as a backpack to the sports halls when they move from school to sport. And I kind of made it longer by putting it on the pineapple leaf and kind of using the very tip of it. But she said it's actually still a bit tight. So this was my first attempt at mending it without having to re-crochet the whole strap. Looks like I have to re-crochet the whole strap. At least, you know, 2022 it won't work anymore, or in winter with a thicker coat. I'm super excited that I managed to do this, because it was like on the mending pile for, you know, a long time and kind of out of circulation, and it's loved, you know, it's a loved item I made, that I crafted, and I'm pleased. It's, you know, it receives the kind of perfection that I tried to put into every stitch that I kind of translated. I don't know if that makes sense to you, but it translated into an everyday item, and so I'm extra excited that I mended it as part of this year's Magic 3 Mile. And that's it for me and my Magic 3 Mile crafting. Well, I say that. And it's not really true. I also test knitted an item, and this will become part of a kind of newborn set as the present for the mummy. So you'll see it reappear, but I'm going to talk about it as simply a little FO part of this podcast, about talking about a test knit. This is the Fichu Guermantes Fichu. And it was a super fun test knit that I joined for Miss Wool and Books. She's a French crafter called Pia, and she made this head wrap, a tiny neckerchief, cute little item, and I was super excited to join her test knitter crew, because you can kind of wear it as so many items. You can wear it like this with a little tie like this, so it kind of keeps the wind off your neck. I made it mainly also because it's helpful for me to wear, you know, as a little head wrap that also is still skinny enough to fit under my bike helmet, and it keeps the wind out of my ears. So, you know, I'll definitely be reknitting this. I used leftover from a previous project. I think it might have been something I used in the in last year's Mystery Knit Along for Stephen West's Slip Stravaganza shawl. It's a golden kind of mustardy green, and the yarn is rosy green wool yarns. They actually are based out of Munich, but they used to do this kind of UK yarn. Now they're producing in Portugal for many reasons. And it's one of the yarns that is superwashed through a mechanical treatment and not a chemical treatment. It's not plant dyed, though this looks very much like a colour that could be achieved with plant matter, but it's kind of beautifully cottony in the feel. It's basically a superwash treatment where they strip the fibres of all those tangly bits, and it's kind of stripped down, and therefore it doesn't tangle in a wool wash cycle of your washing machine. Super nice, super lovely. I loved working for Pia. I love her Instagram. Please go check out her Fichu Guermantes. She also sells elsewhere than just Ravelry, which I think is cool, and check out her cool things. Yeah.
like a bird on a tree. I'm just sitting here, I got time, it's clear to see. From up here, the world seems small. We can sit together.
Sock alarm always includes like a part of sock mending as well. So this week I haven't started a new mend, and I'm going to share the armhole mending in a minute for the mending part. But I thought I'll just report back about this Mending yarn sock mend that I've done. These are back in heavy rotation as it's getting cold in the evenings. And I had mended the socks once, and then I had to, oops, my hairs. Then I had to reinforce the mend again, like around the edges. The mend had kind of torn out. But I must say, now that I've kind of mended twice, so it's at the front, where I seem to walk through socks, that's often a spot where I have to mend. And then at the heel. And see the kind of woven structure of this. Oh God, my hair. Sorry, I'm kind of molting. So my hair is everywhere. Yeah, so here you can see it's kind of felted into place. And this one was fine, the first one. On this other sock, you can also see that it kind of reinforces the knitted areas as well and truly. And I think that is a good technique. I wouldn't do patches in the base of the sock where you kind of re-knit like a patch and just sew that in, because I feel the actually sewn parts then tend to pull and tear the potentially walk through woolen threads. So I might reinforce in this area just because I know that then I get at least this winter and maybe next winter out of them. I'm not wearing them in boots any longer, these socks, but I love them, and I love the wool because of the warmth. But yeah, you have to be willing to mend if Mending is the sock yarn of your choice. Maybe that's a side effect of having like a plastic-free sock. I'm up for that challenge because I like the beauty or the kind of different feel that mending crafting gives the crafting. I don't know if it makes sense, but I kind of like in the whole sphere of the idea of mending life and mending one's own kind of emotional, anxious or instabilities, like that mending can kind of reinforce that idea of success in a kind of small scale. And so that on one side, like personal and achievement emotions. On the other side, the idea of recirculating something that you care for, that you like, and that you love or miss in circulation in your garment collection. I think those two things create a space where I think, yeah, mending truly gives me hope. So I do enjoy it. Okay. I guess we can talk about this plenty of times, and my mending section in the podcast is here exactly because of that. I've done that for so long now that I think it's not, you can kind of take me serious on this, that it's not just like this kind of trendsetter item that is just kind of rolled into my podcast. No, like this is here because of, you know, mattering. And because of the mountain of things that I need to mend anyway. And that I want to mend, and that this trend is a good trend. You just have to watch it where it becomes what you call it, where it becomes stressful for people, or where it becomes exclusive. Like, there's no right or wrong way to mend, if you ask me. And if you don't have the energy, or if this doesn't give you the kind of happiness that I was talking about, if it just stresses you out, then, you know, don't worry, like, don't do it. It's like it shouldn't be a pressured thing. It should be mending for the joy of mending. Don't know if that makes sense. Okay, I think I spoke about mending there, and I wanted to share my swatch story. This time my swatch is a square of many colors. This tiny little cozy memory blanket is my swatch for the Shawlography, and I have also used this as my kind of spoiler warning slide. So I'm gonna include that spoiler warning slide right here, so you're warned. I'm about to talk about the Mystery Knit Along by Stephen West. I just took it to the sofa. Okay, oh, I'm so silly. I had noticed, oops, oh my god. I had noticed that I was kind of mid-row, and so whilst the camera was charging, I knit to the end of that row. So I'm way into clue number 2, about to finish section 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I'm absolutely in love with my vintage colorway. This year Stephen West has included lots of super new ways of creating textures, actually quite 3D. If I hold it sideways, you'll see you've got these kind of I-cord loops, and now these, I call them my beans because I knitted them in green, and the next section will be these kind of bubbles, and I will use this very dark blue Mending, almost black, to create kind of like seeds. I knitted according to his instructions apart from here, as I am using the Exmoor sock by John Arbin, and I had different colors. I decided in section 2, sorry I keep looking on the screen because I'm trying to work out where to point. In section 2, as the main color, I swapped out the lime green and the rusty orange to create this kind of sundial. Because everybody loves the sunshine, and I love this kind of natural dyed, natural yarny, but acid dyed combination of yarns I've chosen. I will include a little kind of swoop across the table to show you the colors that I chose, and I will include all the names listed below. I'm gonna say them out loud now, but you know, you will see them in written form in the spill below this podcast. So I have got South Downs yarn, which is plant dyed by Louise. I have Exmoor sock, which is a natural sock by John Arbin. Then I have this, you know, you might spot up here, and then in the triangle kind of texture up here, it's Bob Gaat Los, or Releasing My Inner Bob by Yippee Yarns. Then I have got this here in these bumps, kind of garter bumps. It's natural dyed Abinaya yarn, and the background in this is is woolly mammoth fibre and Irish Spring by the Sea, skein that Alice kindly gifted me, who is also the friend that I was knitting the socks along with. Funnily, like, yeah, everything goes together if it's like naturally colored schemes. And yeah, I'm really excited. I can't wait to use more of this sock yarn. I'm thinking about swapping it out so that I can actually create socks, or maybe a really simple shawl also with this, so it doesn't just kind of steal away. Does that make sense? Because some of these plant-dyed yarns are one of a kind and hard to put your grubby little paws on, so you know, you might need to treasure them. So far so good. So apart from filming a little swoop across the table, that's it for my knitterly stuff. The Swatch story is beautifully magic. I love combining things and making something new from it. I'm excited to include this in different stories and share next week's or next episode's Swatch story with you. Shawlography MCall runs throughout October, and we have to include like spoiler warnings. So now I will finish showing it, and if you wanted to skip this part, welcome back. I will only include a little unboxing now, and then we'll move on to the Tarot Knit Oracle, where I will ask about our inner sunshine. What's my inner sunshine? I'm going to ask the tarot card. And then the knit reportage is a mending one, where I show how I'm closing those little cheeky little armhole holes that I have in this top after knitting. And through darning in the last ends, which are kind of the beginnings of the sleeves, I will close those gaps, and I'm going to film that as the knit reportage this week. So let's dig in to this sweet little present sent by Anya, who is knitting Sharky. She also sent a price for the Magic 3 Mile, so she will be included in the little thing that I filmed showing the big price that's going to Julia. And she also sent me this present just for me, because this is episode 50 and she is sweet and she wanted to help me celebrate. So I thought I'll unbox. She said, "This present is for your 50th episode. Greetings." A beautiful postcard that I absolutely love. The mood, very nice with this, goes really well together with the Irish Spring by the Sea that sweet Alice gifted me for my birthday. Oh, what's inside? And it's wrapped some more. Oh my word! It's a Yarnchix cushion! Oh, Anya! I love it! Look at all these chickens! Oh my god, I'm going to cherish it. Oh my god, I love it. Oh, you're so cool. I mean, where do you find these things? You're such a magic one. Thank you so much for celebrating my 50th episode with me, Anya, and for everyone who joined today. I hope my tarot oracle about the inner sunshine helps you in some way or the other, and my little closing those cheeky armhole holes, literally mending tricks. I don't know. You probably know them, but anyway, I hope you like my filming, and I hope to see you again for episode 51. Stay tuned as I am, banging out all those products for the annual countdown to celebrations at the end of our year. And as I kind of potter, and I will, make sure I'll scream about them on here or on Instagram. Thank you so much for subscribing and liking my stuff. It makes me very happy. It helps me achieve smaller goals and maybe grow a little bit further. Tell a friend, invite them over, and everyone's welcome here. I hope you have a lot of sunshine or inner sunshine wherever you are in this world, and let's see what the tarot cards suggest for inner sunshines. Have a good day. Bye-bye.